So you got four hospital security guards in Pueblo who have been arrested with charged with negligent homicide, class 5 felony for the death of Matthew Haskell Jones, November 17th, 2021. Here's the four guys. All right, you got Anthony Verrett, and you also got Drake Castro, and you got Anthony Ruff, and you got Randy Valpanda. Right? It almost seems like he's the only one that seems a little bit remorseful. But look at these goddamn Keystone cops. Look at this goddamn. You get a bunch of douchebags together and you put a badge and a hat on them, and then they just go berserk. So they're saying it's just negligent, so it's not like outright murder. But let's take a look at some of the details. This call comes from krdo.com by Sean Rice, posted May 11th, 2022, 3 days ago. 4 security guards at St. Mary Corwin Medical Center in Pueblo have been charged with negligent homicide in the death of a man, February 2021. Court records obtained by 13 Investigates say Anthony Verrett, Randy Valpanda, Anthony Ruff, and Drake Castro were all charged with negligent homicide for the death of Matthew Haskell Jones on November 17, 2021. In Colorado, negligent homicide is a class 5 felony. There's like 5 charges of murder in Colorado. You got class 1, class 2, right? You got, not class 1, but first degree murder, second degree murder, manslaughter, vehicular homicide, and negligent homicide. In a press release on May 7th, 2021, the Pueblo Police Department said Jones arrived at St. Mary Corwin on February 10th, 2021. According to the police in the initial release, Jones had been involved in a physical altercation with hospital security staff. Prior to the arrival of Pueblo police officers, Jones was taken to a Colorado Springs hospital after the disturbance. He died a little over a week later on February 18th, 2021. On February 24th, 2021, the El Paso County Coroner's Office ruled Jones's cause of death a homicide. The court documents refer to the coroner's report that states Jones died from anoxic brain injury due to cardiopulmonary arrest during physical restraint in the setting of morbid obesity, methamphetamine, and probably cocaine intoxication, and cardiomegaly with cardiac fibrosis. On the 33-page arrest affidavit, investigators detail what happened the morning of February 10th, 2021. What the guards say. According to the affidavit, Valpando told police Jones had been discharged from the emergency room without against medical advice. Valpando said he tried negotiating with Jones and tried to convince him to leave. Hospital staff tried calling his wife, then his mother, who told staff to get a taxi for Jones. Castro told police he tried getting a cab from City Cab and rides from various family members of Jones's. He said nurses let Jones use the phone, but Castro said he ended up ripping the phone cord out of the wall. At that point, Valpando says he tried to get Jones to leave, but Jones refused and told security officers that he wasn't going anywhere. Valpando says he spoke with Jones's mother again, and they tried coming up with a plan to get Jones home. However, they ultimately couldn't find a ride. Valpando told police, don't they all have vehicles? All 4 of these security guards have, vehicles, right? Valpando told police he assisted other security officers in attempting to move Jones from the hospital by force. All 4 guards say Jones was resisting their attempts to force him to leave the hospital. That's when police records say Jones fell to the ground. In an interview with detectives, Valpando told police they tried getting Jones onto his stomach and he grabbed his left arm. According to Valpando, Jones was spitting at security guards while on the ground. Valpando says he maintained control of Jones's left arm until he became unresponsive. And that's when Valpando said medical aid was administered to Jones. During that incident, Verrett told police he pressed his chest to Jones's back in an attempt to hold Matthew in place and control him from moving. He also said he was trying to prevent Jones from coming face to face with security guards. In the affidavit, Verrant told police he could feel Jones continued to struggle and tense up, and he continued the pressure on Jones's back until he noticed Jones wasn't resisting anymore. Verrant said he then noticed Matthew was becoming unresponsive. Castro told officers he secured Jones's lower legs after he fell to the ground. Shortly after, Castro said Jones became unresponsive. In the affidavit, Ruff stated that when Jones fell to the floor, he was yelling to let him up. Ruff said he maintained control of Matthew's right arm until Matthew became unconscious. What the surveillance camera reveals, the Pueblo Police Department received a search warrant for video from inside the hospital. Court documents say the security officers were seen talking with Jones for 18 minutes on tape. After reviewing the footage, the affidavit says at no point before 6:24 a.m. on the video footage does it appear that Matthew confronts, assaults, or threatens anyone. The court documents go on to say it appears Matthew is trying to resist the security officer's efforts of pushing him toward the door. At one point, Matthew extends one leg and puts it on the door to the ER entrance. At this time, Matthew falls to the ground. The security officers go to the ground with Matthew. While Matthew is on the ground on his back, one of the security guards, Anthony Verrant, put his hands against Matthew's throat area. Another officer, Drake Castro, lays across both of Matthew's legs. One security officer, Randy Valpando, attempts to control Matthew's arms, and the other security officer, Anthony Ruff, has his hand on Matthew's back. The affidavit says Jones rolled onto his stomach. However, it's unsure if he rolled over or if the guards moved him. Police wrote that Verrant is seen in the video placing his left forearm on the back of Jones's neck area. Castro is seen continuing to lie on Jones's legs. Valpando is controlling Jones's left arm, and Ruff has his hands on Jones's back. This happens at 6:25 a.m. according to the surveillance video. At 6:26 a.m., a St. Mary Corwin employee named Betty Weber approaches. She walks away, then arrives again and hooks Jones up to a blood pressure monitor. At 6:28 a.m., what witnesses told police and court records, investigators say they interviewed multiple St. Mary Corwin employees, including Weber, in the days and months after the incident, both in person and by phone. June 1st, Detective Ryan Torres, who also wrote the affidavit, spoke with Janice Martinez. She's an admissions representative for St. Mary Corwin Hospital, owned by Centura Health. Martinez told Torres that Jones was complaining that they gave him something and they were trying to kill him. When Jones was insistent on leaving, Martinez said he ripped the phone out of the wall. When he was on the phone with City Cab, attempted to get a ride from the hospital, Martinez said that 3 of the security guards were the most seasoned officers she had ever worked with. She went on to say that they are the gentlest people. 2 were retired sheriff's deputies, and 1 was a guard for the Department of Corrections. She recalled that the 4th guard was new and had been training in the days leading up to the incident. Detective Torres says Martinez told him that Jones started to smack his face and started to spit blood. Then she said he started to spit on the security guards. After speaking with Martinez, court records indicate Torres spoke with another nurse, Jessica Gomez. Gomez corroborated many details related to Jones's behavior, specifically him refusing medical attention, pulling the phone from the wall, attempted to call a city cab to leave the hospital. However, records say Gomez did not witness Jones's interaction with the guards. Torres then spoke with Weber, the nurse who approached the guards with a blood pressure machine. In the affidavit, Weber told police she goes to the front of the ER and hears Jones saying he can't breathe. Weber told police she remembers thinking, okay, this has been too long. At that point, Weber told police she went over to the security guards and said, hey, this looks a lot like the George Floyd incident, and we all know how that turned out. How the hospital responded: Centura Health issued a statement. 213 investigates regarding Jones's death. Protecting patient and associate privacy is a value deeply rooted in our organization, and as such, due to privacy laws, we are not able to comment further on the circumstances surrounding this event. We have and will continue to cooperate with local authorities in this matter. Centura spokesperson. However, on March 19, 2021, Detective Torres received several emails from Michael Watts, an attorney from Mullen and Moore, who indicated he was representing Centura Health in this matter, and a number of attachments pursuant to the production of records search warrant for the St. Mary Corwin Hospital. Detective Torres says he received a notarized letter signed by Glenn Greesham, indicating that the HR investigation file would not be turned over because it was privileged by the attorney-client privilege in the Fifth Amendment. He further indicated that he would not be turning over the internal communications regarding the underlying incident because they're protected by the attorney-client privilege, the Fifth Amendment privilege, the hospital quality management privilege contained in CRS 253109, and the Federal Patient Safety and Quality Improvement Act. Detective Torre states in the affidavit he was also served with a document signed by attorney Michael Watts on March 25th, 2021, explaining why Centura Health and St. Mary Corwin Medical Center would not be providing materials that were ordered in a search warrant, as well as records and recordings ordered on 3/25/21. I was personally served with a document signed by attorney Michael Watts that is titled Response to the Order for Production of Records and Motion for Extension of Time to Comply. This document appears to be a legal pleading explaining why Centura Health and St. Mary Corwin Medical Center would not be providing materials that were ordered in the St. Mary Corwin document search warrant S1SW166, as well as records and recordings ordered in the Centura Health production of records ordered 21SW173. The affidavit states the document was titled Response to the Order for Production of Records and Motion for Extension of Time to Comply. 13 investigates reach out to all 4 attorneys for the security guards. We have not yet heard back at the time of publication. So there you go. There you go. So what happened? Typically, George Floyd, yes, this shit does fucking happen. And that goddamn hospital's so tiny and you're so congested anyways. And then, just looking at their faces, they used to be sheriff's deputies, these guys. I once called the sheriff, or not the sheriff's deputies, but the city police. I guess that's different. City police is different. The sheriff is the county. And one was in training. Which one do you think was in training? If they get a sympathetic jury, then perhaps a jury could see their perspective on the whole matter. But I feel like this is just what chimpanzees do. This is what chimpanzees do. They find some person, they're beating up on the person. He's probably, he's on cocaine and meth and shit. So he's all drugged out, and they're trying to kick him out of the hospital, and he can't find a ride. There's no ride, and they're just saying, why don't you just get out anyways? Without a damn cab, they all got cars, they all got vehicles, they all could have just taken him to the to the place, if it was such a big, so fucking important. It's important enough for them to put their hands on him and beat him up and, take him down to the ground and shit. So I think you should really take a look at it. There's 4 folks there, right? Who was the main instigator? Who was the one that actually killed the guy? And it says he died a week later, so, there's morbid obesity. So there's some other factors, too. So is it possible that not only are they negligent, but perhaps just a small percentage? That seems to be the most generous that you could say. The worst you could say, they just fucking killed a dude, right? Just George Floyd the shit out of him. Just beat him up for no gut. Well, he was all, high and shit and was annoying the staff. Oh, I'll protect your staff. St. Mary Corwin's tiny ass motherfucking, there's no space. There's hardly any space. I mean, you got goddamn 4 security guards. I don't remember seeing 1 security guard. And there's 4 security guards. The lobby is so tiny. I feel like you just needed 1 security guard and just sit him, outside. I don't know why you have 4, but that's groupthink. They all got together, start beating up on dude. That's what it feels like to me. But that's only, after just 5 minutes worth of analysis, so,